Hey everyone, today I thought I would make a video to explain what my dissertation was about. This year was my final year at Oxford University and I wrote a dissertation titled Exchange Students and Ibasho in Japan. Ibasho is a word in Japanese which is actually quite hard to translate into English. Ibasho is a word in Japanese which is actually quite difficult to translate into English. One very simple way of translating it is a sense of belonging. And I'll quickly explain just where the word comes from. Ibasho has changed over the years. What it used to mean back in the day was a place where you be, because I comes from iru, to exist, and basho means place, so a place where you are, a place where you're situated. Over the years though, through lots of psychology, research, and other studies which were conducted, people started saying, using ibasho in the way of ibasho ga nai, which means I don't have an ibasho. And that doesn't mean I don't have a physical place necessarily where I am. It also means a sense where you can mentally be in a place you can feel comfortable. Over the years, this changed. People started to use the word ibasho in studies of psychology in the sense where it is, I have ibasho with this person. So a person could also now become to provide ibasho for you. From around 1994 onwards, after research done by someone called Naito, basically ibasho, there was three types. So there was the physical one, so a place where you can be. So maybe a school or a library, a place where you can hang out and feel like this is my place. Next one was a human ibasho. Human ibasho, so a person can be your ibasho. So when I'm with this person, I can feel at ease. So a best friend, maybe a teacher, maybe boyfriend, girlfriend, family member, etc. And then finally there's one which is temporal ibasho, well that's what I call it, which is basically a time where you feel at ease, i.e. when I'm playing guitar, when I'm reading, all these type of things. And so ibasho started to become a much more complicated idea and notion over the years. I then researched, well, when you're an exchange student in Japan and you're in this new foreign environment you don't even know and you probably don't have friends if it's one of the first times you're going to Japan, how would you make this whole thing called ibasho? Because in Japan over the last 20-30 years people say that students don't have ibasho, they don't have places to be, they don't have any way of feeling at ease, and this is an issue which needs to be fixed. Now in Japan what the government did a lot is they put a lot of money into changing the facilities in schools, like providing more places, physical places for students to be, but then it kind of neglected the idea of the mental aspect. So nowadays lots of people have friends with ibasho, and when I was in Japan, my friends, I would say, probably provided me with my ibasho more so than places, though I did spend every day in a library. So what I did with my research is I used a ibasho scale which had been created by two very famous people, and it was used I think in 2005. What it was is a survey which had 4 sections in it, and then each section had about 10 to 12 questions in it, and you answered questions on a scale of 1 to 4. So it would be statements. So you'd say, at school or at university, I feel as if I have someone I can talk to about my issues. And you could say, apply, strongly agree, don't, disagree, strongly disagree. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now what I did with all these statements is I grouped them into negative statements, positive statements. So for example, a positive statement would be like the one I just said. At school, I have someone I can tell my fears and worries to. Now, if you do have someone, you probably do have a sense of belonging in school or with that person, etc. So that would be, if you said strongly agree, you get a 4. That's a good thing. And then there'd be other ones. So at school, I have nowhere where I can feel at ease and relax. Now, if you said strongly agree, you get a 1 on that. And what I did then is you gather everyone's figures and their numbers from all their answers, and then you create an average. So people would get a number between 1 and 4. I mean, no one actually gets a 4. 4 is the highest. And then that would be their ibasho in that sector. And there was like 4 sectors, as I said, A, B, C, D. So one was like social, one was sense of feeling at ease, one was your motivation, like all different aspects of what makes up someone's ibasho. So you might have so you've got A, B, C, D, you might have 2.47, a 3, a 1.6, and what I did then is I compared them. So I asked 100 exchange students and 100 Japanese students. And there wasn't many results. The Japanese people on average felt more like they had a sense of belonging. I mean, I guess if you're in a native country and you're from your hometown area maybe, or you're nearby, you're probably going to feel more at ease. Then what I did is I broke down the exchange students' answers into different groups. So I did things like age comparison, comparison of Japanese ability, length of study, length of time in Japan, if someone had a smartphone or not, if someone had an old school style phone, which phones were not smartphone essentially, if people were part of a society or a club, and even broke it down to like European people, American people, East Asian people, etc., and just to see if there were any trends. Now, what I actually hypothesized right from the start, which goes back to like my mini dissertation I wrote when I was actually at Kobe University, is that I assumed that nowadays, with smartphones being so popular, that people now find that a smartphone can provide ibasho. That's what I assumed. So we looked down the figures. I did a multiple regressional analysis on my figures, which basically means you put all your figures into the data computer and you analyze it to see if there are any trends. So, for example, if having a smartphone affects your part B of your ibasho. Things like that. And actually, when it came out, it said smartphone did not affect at all. No correlation to a smartphone actually don't impact your ibasho. So if you have a smartphone in Japan, even if you don't, it will technically not affect your ibasho. Well, what's quite interesting, and I guess makes sense, is the conclusion I came to is that being part of a club or society is very important for your sense of belonging. The exchange students who said that they were part of a society in university had on average high ibasho across the scale. And yes, it was only a sample of 100 people, but it was many different people. It's about half men, half women, maybe. It was quite a good split as well by nationality, and quite diverse study periods for Japanese. So some people studying for a year, some people studying 6-7 years, and quite varied. It's quite interesting that those who had only been in Japan 1 year and were part of society compared to those who studied Japanese for 10 years, were part of society, they both had equally as high ibasho compared to people who didn't and were not part of a society. So that's what I did, and essentially the conclusion is that smartphones actually don't really have much of an impact. What is the most important thing is being part of a society. That is probably because when you're part of society, it opens you up to many new groups of people. And what seems to be happening now, people is the most important type of ibasho that you're going to have. Especially when you're on your year abroad. So what you can then take from this is that if you're on a year abroad, in Japan especially, you want to try and get into a society, you want to get into a friendship circle. And in Japan, when you're part of a circle, that kind of becomes most of your life. If you're part of like bukatsu, like the club at school for the sport, that is the most important thing of your life, and they will be your best friends, and you'll see them all the time because you'll be training all the time. And you can hook onto that as a foreign student in Japan by jumping into that part of the culture, and it will help you feel better and probably less homesick. Because when you're there for a year or whatever, you're probably going to get homesick at some point. But having a solid ibasho makes sure that you get homesick less. So that's another thing that came from my study, that people who had a high sense of ibasho were homesick less. Because that was part of my survey in the questions, which I added just to see what else I could try and divulge from this, trying something I could work out. So that's basically what I did on this station. It was really fun, very interesting, made me understand a lot more about my time in Japan and how I had a good time. And yeah, it was very interesting. I can probably upload it, but yeah, what I'd like to know what people think about their time abroad, if they felt that making groups of friends was important. The most important aspect of feeling comfortable in that country. Right.